Hi, hello, and welcome to the astrology forecast for the month of February 2018. Well, this month has a hidden meaning which culminates on February the 14th. And the issue that is hidden is to do with relating. So it is quite some coincidence that this also happens to be Valentine's Day. I always say, by the way, that Valentine's Day was created by someone who was joking, because the sign of Aquarius, which is ruling at the moment because the sun is in Aquarius, is probably the least romantic sign of all of them. Shock horror, I'm going to hear all the Aquarians now going, who, me? Well, okay, so the story is that Aquarius is the least romantic of all the zodiac signs. Great friends, but they tend not to be very sloppy and squidgy and that sort of thing. So I think somebody stuck Valentine's Day in there to sort of let some light in on all that friendship and comradeship, but lack of smooching and canoodling. But anyway, so let's start at the beginning of February, that is. The early days of February are dominated by relating issues. I mean, this comes in early. And this is because the symbols of Hera, which is now Juno, an asteroid called Juno, and Zeus, now called Jupiter, are in collision. They're in a square. They're at a 90-degree angle to each other. And they're actually in this 90-degree angle for most of the month. So Hera, Juno, call her what you will, and Zeus, Jupiter, call him what you will, are the dominant relationship of the gods of ancient Greece. They're the king and queen of Mount Olympus. Now, Hera's struggle is, well, much written about in myth, and it's to control her adulterous husband. And this resulted in constant battles, really big battles. So for hundreds of years before this, Hera, or her equivalent, had been the queen of heavens and the great Mother Earth goddess. She was a dominant force in her own right. But the rising patriarchy at the time in the human population was forcing the feminine into a more submissive role. So human consciousness, and therefore the collective and the spiritual unconscious, was giving the masculine a much more powerful and superior position, and so it was reducing the role of motherhood and woman. And at the time that this was happening, when Hera was on Mount Olympus and the mythology was about her rather than the preceding goddesses, it was about how she was subjugated, if you like, how Zeus was rising up as the mighty one only and supreme mighty Jupiter, and the Mother Earth goddess was being pushed back. So the mythology that was the Greek religion of its time was rewriting the role of male and female. The ancient Greek historians wrote that Jupiter swallowed Metis, who was the talents and wisdom of the feminine, and he assumed the role of supreme and almighty, as I said. Juno was devalued and married off to him, although she didn't take kindly to this subjugation. So Hera despised the human race for taking this path and is all ready to strike back whenever she can. The archetype of Hera, which remains in the collective, is always ready to strike back for the humility that she suffered from being the great and mighty goddess to having to be just the consort of Jupiter or Zeus. So we can see the archetype of Hera Juno emerging globally this year as women pick up their roles as representatives of the feminine and continue to claim equality by challenging the control and the domination of males. This millennial sea change, which is coming, centres really on 2020, and that's another story. We simply need to assess its effect on us individually during the run-up to that pivotal year. And February happens to be a month when we get to look at a lot of the action with regard to how, over years and years, the feminine is going to rise up and rebalance things after thousands of years of domination. So the individual experience of this, the need to fight back, means that something brittle and judgmental could emerge in our relating during the month of February. This position of the two planets means that the cosmos is setting itself up to have this argument, and therefore we will play it. When the cosmos reflects it in the heavens, then down below as human beings find ourselves acting it out in our lives. So Hera's or Juno's cutting words and her emotionally cold attitude may emerge from either yourself or your partner, doesn't matter who plays it, but there could be compensatory intense moments too. Because Jupiter is in Scorpio, which is an intensely emotional sign. So the intensity could alternate with the coldness of Juno in Aquarius. This was so typical of Hera's relationship with Zeus. They could be very, very close one minute and then really having a massive battle and tearing each other to shreds the next minute. Now, having examined that background, we can see the importance of this month, and especially the sky, around the 14th of February, when the Sun conjuncts Juno. Conjuncts means goes to the same part of the sky, stands next to. So the Sun gets close to Juno. Now, this is a bit of a coincidence. Why should this happen on February the 14th? And it is a coincidence. The Sun is the great illuminator and the positive messenger from the divine. And it has decided to stand at Juno's side on a day which should be all about romance and relating. So this says something. I think this has a twofold meaning. The first is a demonstration of the Sun's support for Juno, which does happen once a year anyway, but for it to take place whilst Juno is at odds with or square to Jupiter is pretty special. So the cosmos is favouring Juno over Zeus. Neat. So women's issues are getting supported. The other meaning that we can take from this conjunction is a straightforward one. Juno represents relating in astrology. So the sky is simply reflecting a day focused on relating. On paper, it should be a positive day since the Sun is a positive planet, but there is a snag in there in that there is a solar eclipse the next day and the Sun is weakened by this eclipse. On the surface of it, Valentine's Day astrology describes a great show of enjoyment and relationship on the surface. It should be bliss. But for some, this is a pretense. Something may be missing. The eclipse talks about this. Any attempt to show the world perfection, and Aquarius does like to be perfect, but any attempt to show the world perfection in one's relationship has longing written on the underside of it. Not for all of us. Not all of us will feel like that, but some of us will do. We'll feel we need to show perfection to the world and have the best flowers and the best gift and the best table in the restaurant, but something will be missing inside and we'll be aware of it. The sky is a mixed bag of attempts at perfection, but coldness. Some genuine surprises and joy, but then some longing for something else or someone else. After the 18th of February, there is a shift into Pisces and the element of water. Now we're now in a watery environment, so the atmosphere should become more emotional, but also more poignant. So we carry that theme on from the 14th. The 18th, we get more emotional. So it's as if you're going to sort of grow the emotional thoughts that you may have had on the 14th when you were just trying to plaster over it and cover it up. Pisces represents a distant potential, one that we can't reach yet, and it brings out a certain sadness in our souls. It's talking about a distant home that we can hardly remember, but we still perceive it to be more angelic and loving than this one. If only we could find it. The end of February is a very spiritual time when we will dwell on the numinous and reflect on our feelings. So we have a month ahead of us that is sort of up and down, but about feelings and coldness and attachment and detachment. It asks questions about relationship, but it also supports the rising movement of women who rise up now to claim their equality, if you like. So a month really that sort of hits home really for all of us. We will be looking at our relationships and thinking and evaluating our position as a woman. As a woman, what do we represent? Who are we? What do we expect? What do we want other people to think of us? What do we want to reflect? What do we want to command? These are things that as women we should be asking ourselves now, because if we don't know who we are, then how can we expect the rest of the world to know? It's about time we found out what we want, said our case clearly, and then set out to get it. We've made a good start, but we can do a lot more this month down the path of claiming equality. So I do hope your month is powerful and a peaceful one. Don't forget, here I am. If in the midst of all this relating issues you're thinking, oh, I don't know where I am, what's going on, I can't see the wood for the trees, then remember I'm here. Have a reading with me and we will sort it all out. By the time we get to the end of it, you'll be as clear as anything on all of it. You'll know where you're going, what you need to do, and you'll be fully informed and understand things a whole lot better. There we go. I hope that was interesting, and I look forward to seeing you next month. It was great to talk to you. Thank you. Bye.